Jeunesse family, let's invite our first speaker for this afternoon. She is the founder of 6 a.m. Agency and author of Resilience and Good Plus Well. 25 world experts share their secret to well-being. Is a creative communications leader with a passion for building business, stemming from a 30-plus year career in publishing and agency ownership. Prior to migrating to Australia, she was managing editor of one of the South Africa leading lifestyle magazine. She launched the 6 a.m. Agency and realized a lifelong entrepreneur's dream of building and owning her own business. Today, the firm is acknowledged as the leading modern creative communications agency with a deep specialization in well-being and good living. Jeunesse family, please help me to welcome to the stage Gillian Fish. Thank you, stage for you. Thank you.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Well, what an amazing place to be today. I don't think anyone, we should have double the size, number of room, people, etc. What an energizing space to be in a time where most of you likely connecting for the first time together as human beings. I was lucky enough to do something at a conference a few weeks ago and it was so uplifting. So firstly, Rachel, wherever you are, Rachel, Louise, Jerry, thank you very much for having me today. But importantly for all of you, for showing up today to really participate, which is what is the new future of the economy, business and so forth. So Jerry introduced me and I think maybe I should mention that actually my business works with Jeunesse Global. We do a lot of your social media. I was at the launch of the business your brand around 12 years ago, so I've got a deep passion and belief in what you do. I also believe as an entrepreneur that what we need to be doing is we need to be looking at direct selling as a model of the future, in fact a model for the moment. Now is the time of possibility for us to grow this industry broader, wider, etc. Why? I'm an entrepreneur and I can see that from an entrepreneur's perspective, this is the new model of business that is going to empower people individually, families and so forth as we face these challenges during this time in COVID. So what I'm going to do today is share with you two things about the power of possibility, and I'm a firm believer in it. Firstly, I'm going to talk to you about an opportunity that came my way on the 23rd of March, nearly 1 year prior. If you cast your minds back to when we went into lockdown. After that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you what my belief is in terms of teams and how we evolve and really connect with each other to build successful businesses and to have the life that we want to lead. So what happened on the 23rd of March? I'm not sure if any of you remember. We had the Great Reset. That was the day we all went into lockdown. It was the first day that I had my agency with about 12 millennials facing me, their faces on the screen of Zoom. If you had told me that I would run my business, a creative communications agency, a year before, with online and off-site, I would have told you you're talking about somebody from Mars. But actually what we did was we took that opportunity and we turned it into an amazing potential. And this is what I'll show you today. So we've gone through exponential change. And I think the first thing to do is to congratulate yourselves because we've got there, right? Who would have thought that we would have survived, been here today, etc. We've been through exponential change. And we call that neuroplasticity. But what did we do with that moment? At that time, I sat there and I said to myself, Jill, as a business owner, you've got a responsibility firstly to your team to keep them safe mentally and physically, as well as look after them so that they could progress through this time. Secondly, look after our clients. I remember with Jeunesse, we needed to very quickly pivot the messaging so that we could help people, help like yourselves, distributors, help others. And thirdly, I had to look after my business. Many businesses were collapsing, many businesses had to retrench people, and I said to myself, what is the one thing that you need to do? And what was that? It was to understand how to be resilient during this time. Now, at this point, what I'd like to do is acknowledge Stacey, who is absolutely incredible. I mean, she is, who we heard about, who spoke just before lunch. She is the living embodiment of resilience, right? If anyone can take a life with such an impactful moment at a young age, 12, and land up and reach for her dreams and achieve so much, then all of us can. And I've always believed that we have what I call myself a resilience rib. So the ability, as she said, to cultivate that and to take moments of deep trauma, deep challenge, and turn them into possibility. So what did I do? You can see there the cover of my book. On the 5th of April, we went into lockdown on the 23rd of March. On the 5th of April, I said to myself, it was my birthday, that's why I remember the date. I said to myself, I need to leverage the background of my business, which I've already been working in for 18 years, and that is health and well-being. And I decided to write a book. Now, somewhere here you will see Dr. Amzalag's face, a picture. I think he is, right, that's right, right-hand side. So Dr. Amzalag and 20 other world experts, I decided to phone those people, make contact with them, and talk to them and ask them the question, what is it that we need to do to survive and thrive during this time? And over the next 8 weeks, I interviewed these 21 world experts, 10 in the United States, 3 in Europe, and the balance in Australia. And through that, I was able to really understand, in the height of the pandemic, it was new then, right? It was a year ago. What is it that we need to do to really build that muscle, that resilience muscle? And you can imagine it was a very uplifting experience for me. And one of the things that kept on happening through all of the interviews, that themes were appearing, that every single person, and remember most of these were healthcare practitioners, plastic surgeons, integrative medicine, cardiologists, etc. They kept on quoting the same philosophers. They had a very, very similar philosophy. And a quote that I'd like to read to you is one that kept on coming up in the book, and you can see it in my book, is from a gentleman named Viktor Frankl. He was actually a Holocaust survivor. And Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And what does that mean? As dark as the day is, or as big as the challenge is, it is the way we frame our response to that moment or that challenge that really dictates our path ahead. And I'm talking about it if it's a challenge in the morning, if we've got a child who's upset before they need to get to school in a hurry. Or I'm talking about a challenge when somebody loses their job, or a challenge when somebody has lost a loved one. So that therein lies that philosophy, and this was a key theme that ran through the book, and that is exactly what Stacey spoke about today. So what I'm going to do now is take you through 8 of the top themes of resilience, and then that I gleaned when I was writing my book. And then what I'm going to do is take you through how we use a collective purpose as teams to build, and you are all part of teams with downliners, upliners, and so forth in order to achieve success. So here we go. Number 1 is every single interviewer said to me, Jill, it is those who find purpose and understand why they are on this planet that enables them to build resilience. So yes, in our business we want to sell, sell, sell and make money. But in the end, it is something that is deeper. And what it is about the question we ask ourselves is what legacy do we want to leave when we depart this planet? Do we want to help others? Do we want to use you work with an amazing brand, is empower people to achieve their health and well-being? What is it that we want? So number 1 is purpose. Dr. Ross Walker, who's a very famous cardiologist, I'm sure you've seen him, he's on television, radio, etc., he said, finding purpose is about a spiritual journey, and it's about getting better every single day. When we wake up, we set ourselves, what can I do a little bit better, even a tiny bit better today? Secondly, and importantly, they spoke about the power of now. And I'm not sure if you know, there's a book by a gentleman called Eckhart Tolle, a famous philosopher. Now, this came from Dr. Andrew Monk and many of the other people that I interviewed. Understanding the importance of the power of now is one of the most deepest tools to use to build resilience. Why? What it does is it cuts the noise, it cuts the clutter, and it anchors one in the moment. How do we do it? Many of them spoke about three things. Number one is feel how you are breathing in the moment now. Because the way we breathe, breathing brings us life, brings us joy, right? Without that, there is nothing. So if we can anchor ourselves in the moment, if we go into a meeting, if we're sitting in a conference, we feel how we are breathing, that gives us strength. Secondly, it's about how we are showing up. What is our posture? Are we sitting with purpose? Are we sitting with strength? Are we leaning into learning in the moment? If we're talking to somebody, to a downliner or a child who's having a problem, whoever it is how are we leaning into that? And thirdly, it's about controlling our thoughts. Often we have minds that race. We're thinking now about what we're going to cook for dinner tonight, where we're going to go, what we're going to do with the children, where am I going to get my next sale and so forth. But it's about anchoring in the moment now. The third theme that came through, and I think this is absolutely critical, it's about learning to accept impermanence. And we've all seen it. From the 23rd of March to now, the planet is different. Our lives have been changed forever. And who would have thought we would have been able to survive? And of course we have been able to. We call it in healthcare, we call it neuroplasticity. So the people who have seen this as an opportunity to grow or to reset or to reframe, let go of relationships that haven't been working, or move a job, or do something different, are the ones who've been able to go with the flow. And there are those who have actually experienced trauma, and that's fine too, because not all of us are built with the equal amount of neuroplasticity, and therein lies an opportunity for us to help others. So the reason why you're seeing a picture there with the river is this. I always say this, that life is like a river. It starts in the mountains somewhere and it ends up at the sea. It never stops. And it just flows, but it goes over rapids and down waterfalls and round rocks and then quietly under the trees and so forth. And if we know that that is what life is going to be about every single day, we have that ability to really mold and flow with the biggest challenges. And that is something where we don't challenge it, we don't put up barriers, we just go with it and say, how can I learn from it? How can I do it better? That builds resilience. Number 4 is valuing those forgotten moments. And I'm sure you would have heard Stacey said several times, she has got rituals, right? She spoke about it, daily rituals, and that's what this is about. Those forgotten moments are the things, if we build them into, from tiny rituals, become ripples. And those ripples become waves, and that's what gives us strength. So in one of the interviews, somebody said to me, and we were all in lockdown, working from home and so forth, somebody said to me, Jill, when was the last time that you did something that you loved, that you walked outside and looked at the stars? Simple, right? Easy. Open the door at night, step out, if that's what you like, and look at the stars. When was the last time that you sat down with your family and had a dinner, not working until 9 o'clock at night at the office, before this whole pandemic took hold? And they said to me, you've got to take control and bring back those rituals in your life, be it making coffee at 6 in the morning and listening to some music or reading a newspaper, whatever it is, but rituals absolutely, without doubt, build structure, they help flow, and they build that strength and resilience. So the next point, theme, again, Stacey mentioned this, is about cultivating gratitude and expressing appreciation. And there is absolutely no doubt about it that gratitude is one of the foundational pillars of success in life and happiness and resilience. And I'm going to share a personal story with you. My beloved brother was diagnosed last June with pancreatic cancer. And luckily I went to see him in November. He died on July the 4th. And his words to me right throughout that time, luckily we live in a modern age, right? We've got FaceTime, we've got Skype, etc. And he said to me, Jilly, he said, actually it's a blessing that we have a pandemic. He lives in South Africa. It's a blessing because I have time now with my family. I know it would have been busy, there would have been lots of visitors, etc. And he said, it's an opportunity for me to really end my life off in a very peaceful way, close to those who I love. So I guess what I'm saying here is, and that gives a lot of comfort, right? I guess what I'm saying here is no matter what it is, we have to find gratitude in the smallest thing, be it how we reframe our thinking, how we look at things, how we find the joy in the smallest moments. In our agency, things can get very, very fast when we're on what we call a news cycle, a lot of stress, etc. But what we do is we stop time and we say, what was good about now? What are we grateful for? It's difficult, but don't forget to do it. Number 6 is building community. And in Australia, Australians are the best culture, community, country, call it what you will, who are joined inextricably as a community. Look at what's happened with the Boxing Day tsunami. Look at the bushfires. Everyone pulls together. Look at the pandemic. But the point is this, the pandemic put us in a different situation. It put us in a situation where we couldn't be close to people that we love, but it was enabled by digital. So here's the thing. I remember when I was talking to Gerald Quigley, some of you may know him as well. He's on House of Wellness TV, a famous pharmacist. It was World Schizophrenia Week. This is one of the last interviews that I did. And he said to me, Jill, people living with schizophrenia are isolated, but they need to be together. They need to have community. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about our old people? So I guess the point is this. What we've got to do is make sure that we connect outside of our circle. There are lots and lots of people who need support. And they can actually help us as well. A community doesn't have to be 1,000 people. It can be 3. But the point is connection is absolutely critical in this time. And if we connect, that builds resilience. Number 7 is being of service to others. And when we talk about being of service to others, remember I was talking to 21 healthcare practitioners. They are doctors, most of them. They are born to serve. When we go to a doctor and we've got an ear infection, yes, we might say, doctor, how are your children? But then they do their thing. They look at us, they diagnose, they do everything, and very rarely do they ask for anything in return. So they are born naturally to serve, but to serve others without expecting anything in return. And therein comes opportunity for random acts of kindness, which can actually build you up, which can help evolve and build strong people, build that resilience. So I guess being of service to others instead of always taking, finding a balance is something that is key. So number 8, and this is the last theme that I'll take you through from the book, was connecting deeply with the environment. And we should not forget that. Look what happened to Mother Earth. There was a pause. Finally, we could see the Himalayas in India. Lots of pollution had stopped because of manufacturing. And we have seen, and every single one of the doctors said to me, Jill, the health of our human beings is inextricably linked with the health of the planet. The more toxins there are, the more issues there are with the planet's health, there are with our health. And we are in the health and well-being industry. What we need to do is make sure that we take that into account and we do whatever we can to be responsible with the planet, which in turn makes us feel good and builds that resilience not only physically but mentally. So where do we go from here? Once we've built resilience, we then say, well, what do we do with possibility and opportunity? Because that is what is lying ahead of us. That's why you are all here today. Possibility and opportunity exist for every single person. Winston Churchill, I'm sure you remember the Prime Minister, the gentleman from the 40s in England said, the only barrier to possibility is time. In other words, apart from time that we have in our lives, We have every single opportunity and possibility. We are the only ones who put up our own barriers, so we need to go with it. And I found this interesting. I wanted to look and see what Tony Robbins said, just so you know, about network marketing. And if you read up about it, I'm sure you have already, he talks about it being amazing. He talks about it being an amazing opportunity now as well, in this time. And I think that that's where this conversation should be going, is what do we do to help empower ourselves? Of course, we need to look after ourselves at home. Many people have lost jobs, some of our family and so forth who we want to help. But what do we do with this amazing moment? So what I want to do is take you through a couple of principles now to segue into what happens with sports teams. And I'm sure you can see who this is. These are the All Blacks, right? One of the greatest teams in the world. And there's a book that I recommend you read. It's called Legacy by James Kerr. And it gives the top 15 factors for success, or why are the All Blacks so brilliant. Now, interestingly, out of those 15, several of the pillars that they talk about actually are based on the principles of resilience, which I've already shared with you. And these are they. They say, number one is we have to ask why. We've got to play with purpose. Every person on that team has got to know what the deeper purpose is. Is it the pride of wearing that black jumper? Is it the pride of wearing the black jumper and sharing it with their grandchildren moving forward? If we've got that bigger why, not only about scoring goals and tries, if we have an understanding of that bigger why, the pride and our legacy, that is where we really start to move together as teams. So whatever you're doing in your teams, it's about how do we discuss and define that purpose. Secondly is about passing the baton. Leaders create leaders. And in terms of that, it's about how do we set up the intent of other people so that we can pass the baton. How do we build that leadership muscle and empower people to then take on and lead? That is what I have to do in my business, right? I've got a team of people, exactly like you, have got downliners, and it's my role. I spend time building their strength and their leadership capability so I can pass the baton and they can deliver. Then we've got to always create a learning environment, and I think it's very important now. I think particularly in your industry, if we look at what's happening in the digital world, let's face it, it's not easy, right? Suddenly we said we can't have face-to-face meetings, what are we going to do? Some of us have said, how do we use Zoom and how are we going to communicate better? The point here is we've got to create that growth mindset and say it's okay not to know, but we've got to keep working at it to train people as a team, but also on an individual basis so that we can grow and actually succeed. Then it's about embracing expectation. So if you look at Jeunesse Global, obviously it's one of the best brands in the world with deep stature, deep science behind all of your products and so forth. It's absolutely quality brand all the way through with the right influencers, key opinion leaders, scientists behind it. The point is if people are working in that, is how do we aim for the highest cloud and how do we actually go for it? What we've got to do is we've got to make people accountable, and with that we have purpose. Purpose is the thing that is going to lead people from a North Star perspective. And training to win, obviously, they talk about the All Blacks, they train, they get practice before any big moment, before any event, before any game, even when they show up for promotional opportunities. And training to win is absolutely the secret to their success. Rituals, interestingly enough, which is what I spoke about, which is what Stacey spoke about. The All Blacks have the most incredible rituals that they follow daily, even when they are not playing. So what are those rituals that we leverage in order to build that strength as part of our groups and our networks within, for example, Jeunesse Global and your businesses? If you can create those, be they around business, but importantly, not only about business. And I would like to say now that from our agency perspective, we don't talk anymore about business to consumer or business to business. We talk about humans to humans. And why do we talk about that? obviously you have always been working from home. Many of you, some may have offices, but generally from home. But overall, the world has changed. And as an employer, for example, I have people working at their homes. I've got to know more about them now. I've got to know about where their property is. I've got to know how, if it's safe, how comfortable it is, their relationships. Is anything going wrong? Yes, I have a deeper responsibility, and I think it's important for us to know that those rituals don't have to only be about selling more, how to sell better. It's also got to be about growth, personal growth. How do we become better as people? And I think that for all businesses, we're finding that challenge. How do we infuse that in our thinking? And from your perspective, I would imagine it's something to look at. Sweeping the shed is never be too big to do the small things that need to be done. So I know the culture in direct selling is always, the leaders are very involved and so forth, but it's important that we understand the magnitude of everyone's opportunity. So as leaders, we help each other as we go down the line, and no job is too difficult, as you can see from this picture. And this is what the All Blacks follow. They have a purpose, and it does, regardless of what it takes, they are all in. So I know that Rachel's spoken about this terminology, mind, belief, and attitude, and really that's what it's about. Take Stacey, take the many people who've lost their jobs, the many people who have lost loved ones. If we have the right mindset and we go in with the right attitude, belief that we can do it, the belief in possibility, and we've got a right attitude, there's no doubt about it that we can win. And this industry, in my view, Rachel knows, I talk about it often, I think it's the best moment in time ever. Complete disruption in the industry, in business, bricks and mortar, digital, etc. But direct selling gives us and empowers people to create their future and get ahead. So I guess as a to close on this, it's really about unlocking that power of possibility. How do we do it? Start with resilience. Start with building that resilience muscle using rituals one moment at a time every day. Embrace gratitude. Embrace all of those things which we've seen, I spoke about from my book, and the All Blacks. Have a read of that book. It's a brilliant book, Legacy, and it will help you get ahead. And my final word is yes, you can. I believe in the power of possibility. There is no no. In our business, there's no no. It's just how. How do we get there and how do we succeed? So thank you very much for your time. It's great to have you here and to be here. Thank you. Bye-bye.